The part we're going to do today is called the tailstock clamp. And the way I'm going to approach it is I'm going to approach it with a sketch. And the one sketch I'm going to draw, or at least the first sketch I'm going to draw, will be from kind of like this view right in here. And you usually want to try to draw everything in one sketch, in one operation actually. One line, one line, one line here. Another one, another one. Sorry about that. That looks very, very ugly. Let me try that again. A line here, a line all the way across here, and then the line coming up to represent this edge here, a line coming across this way, an arc, a line, and an arc. And I apologize, this is an ugly looking sketch, but nonetheless, you try to do all of that in one sketch. You try. I can tell you right now, it's not going to happen in this case, but that's what we're going to try to do. In most cases, you should be able to. Okay. It is millimeters, so we're going to try, it says metric. So I'm gonna come over here. This one is Inventor 2023. Depends on when you're watching this video. The menu might look a little bit different, but for the most part, I will tell you that you should have the option of going to File, New, and I don't like to use these because I don't know what units they're working with. I always like to pick my templates. So go click on Templates, and then you might have to expand this English US, and then you can see the English units, which are inches, but we are working with millimeters, which is standard millimeter IPT, and create. So that's the video we need to create. So we're going to go right in here. Sorry, the sketch we need to create. So start sketch. And the sketch I'm going to pick in this case is going to be the X and Y plane. So I'm going to pick this XY plane right in here, and then I'm going to draw myself a line. So I'm going to start with that line on the bottom of 105. So I'm going to click on that one. Just click somewhere right on top of it, or a little bit over. And then I'm going to come across to where it says 105. I might have to zoom out a little bit to where it says 105, roughly there. I'm going to come up about roughly 9 millimeters this way. Okay. Now here I'm going to draw an arc. I could draw it from this step, but I'm not. I don't want to because I can actually come back, press and hold at this point, and then drag out an arc in this direction. I can do that. The problem is that it's going to stay this center is going to be horizontal to this point, and I'm not sure if that's the case here. So I'm not going to draw that in this case, and that's why, I wish I could draw the whole thing in one sketch, but I can't in this case. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw an arc, 3-point arc. The 3-point arc is going to be just a point to start here, and then the radius. Okay, so I'm just going to click that one there. I'm going to draw myself a line from this point here across. And then at this point, I could use that technique that I just did right now, using the same line command. I'm going to come back here, press and hold my mouse, and then drag the mouse out towards this direction. So I can drag an arc out. And then you're still within the line command. I'm going to draw a line across this way and a line down to this point. Okay. And hit escape. Once again, this is a sketch. It's going to be very rough. It doesn't look very nice. I got 11 dimensions at this point. So let's see. I can tell you the approach we need to always take is we need to place the geometric constraints first. You always want to place the most amount of geometric constraints, the least amount of dimensions. I will tell you some of the sketches I've seen has a ton of dimensions where everybody dimensions this line and this line and this line and this arc and this line. You're doing too many dimensions. Most of these dimensions that are, even though it says dimensions here, most of them can actually be satisfied with constraints. And you always want to start with the coincident constraint. I want to place the coincident constraint from the midpoint right in here to the center right in here. Okay. So what that's doing, it's almost like if I'm going to place the object at the center of it, uh, eventually, once this is done, it's almost like if there's going to be a sketch, the part's going to be, the center point is going to be right in the middle of the whole object. And there's a reason why I want to do that. That way, kind of like the X and Y axis right in here, it's going to be right there in the middle. Okay. So there's a reason why I want to do that, and I'll show you here in the next couple of steps. But nonetheless, that's going to be my origin point there. Okay. So 9 dimensions needed. Okay. So before I start placing dimensions, I think I'm going to look at some constraints here first. I can see that If I move this line up and down, this one doesn't stay aligned with this one. So I could use an equal constraint. I will tell you, honestly, a lot of people overuse this one. We're going to make this line equal in length to this one. Okay. And I'm going to hit escape. And you kind of want that because we do want that to be equal in length. Okay. But I will tell you, I think a lot of people overuse it. Another constraint I could have used here is one that's called the horizontal constraint, where I'm going to make lines or points horizontal. So in this case, I want to make this point horizontal with this one so that they're perfectly aligned across each other. Hit escape. And then if you notice, you move this one up and down. So I kind of really use a whole lot more of horizontal and vertical constraints versus equal. You would get the same effect. I've had better luck with these, to be honest with you. Okay. 8 dimensions needed. Let's see. Move this. Oh, here we go. So before I place more dimensions, I can notice some geometry I need to fix right in here. That one is not tangent. Remember, to observe your constraints, make sure you hit escape. You can click F8 to see what constraints we have. Like those are lines that are perpendicular. These two are parallel to each other. And I'm not clicking on them, I'm just hovering over them. This line is tangent to the arc, but this one is not. So I do need to add that tangent constraint right in here between these two. And geometrically, I think that should do it. I'm going to turn off my constraints, F8, sorry, F9 again. And 7 dimensions needed. Okay, let's see how we can do this. I'm going to guess, I'm going to take an educated guess as far as which 7 dimensions we need. I'm going to guess the 7 we're going to need is going to be 1, the 38 millimeters, the 9, 2, so 1, 2, the 29 radius is going to be twice. So it's going to be this one and this one. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. That should be all the dimensions I need for this one sketch. Let's find out if that's correct. Dimension. I'm going to dimension this line 105 millimeters. I'm going to dimension from this point to this point 127 millimeters. I'm going to dimension from the width of this line right in here. I don't want to pick this one. I want to make sure I select the line. That one, according to the sketch, to the drawing, is 11 millimeters. I'm down to 4 dimensions. I need the overall height from this line to this line. That needs to be a total height of 38 millimeters. 3 dimensions needed. Okay. 3 dimensions needed. So I'm going to probably select the arc. That needs to be a radius of 29 millimeters. And then this one too, I'm going to select that one. Now, instead of clicking and typing in 29, since these two need to be the same, instead of typing in the number, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hover over here and simply click on this number. And what it's going to do is going to pick that dimension number 4, and whatever number that is going to show up now on this one over here. So we'll have a 29 over here too. Okay. 1 dimension needed. All right. Which one am I missing? Oh, the height. This one right here. That one needs to be 9. Fully constrained. Very good. Finish sketch. Okay. I'm going to do my extrusion. My extrusion, in this case, I'm going to do a symmetrical extrusion. The overall symmetrical extrusion needs to be a width of 58 millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 58. There we go. Okay. So then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create it right in the middle, which is why, once again, I wanted to make sure I had that origin created to where I have the origin of the whole object right there at the center of the object. Okay, there's a reason why I want that, because that center point also defines the center of the x-axis, the z-axis, the y-axis, the x and y plane, the xz plane, and the yz plane. Okay, so I'm going to use that point to my advantage to be able to sketch this correctly. So what I want to do is I want to create a sketch on the x and y plane. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sketch, and I'm going to expand right here where it says origin, start 2D sketch, expand the origin, and I'm going to create a sketch on the XY plane right there in the middle. Okay. The thing though is I can't really see in the middle, so I'm going to use another command or a setting called F7, which is slice graphics. If I select F7, it temporarily slices the graphics to that center point, where I can then start seeing and start sketching. And to be honest with you, really the only thing I need to sketch there is one line. And that one line is going to be right here at 11 millimeters from the top up to the edge of the object. Okay. So I need to use the edge of the object for reference. So I'm going to click over here where it says project geometry, and I'm going to select this arc, this line, and this arc, because I'm going to use those for reference. Okay. I could have done project cut edges, and it just does the whole thing. I don't think I need to do that, but that's just another option just in case you wanted to use that one. And once I have that one, I'm going to draw myself a line. And then the line, I want to make sure that I do not select it from the middle. I just want a line that's on the arc somewhere. And then across, make sure that it is horizontal to this other arc over here. Okay. And I'm going to predict down here, it's going to say one dimension needed. Now hit escape. And that's the one dimension. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Which one dimension? The dimension between this line and this line, a dimension of 11 millimeters. Fully constrained, perfect, finish sketch. So then what I'm going to do is now I'm going to extrude that sketch right in there. I'm going to extrude it symmetrically. I'm going to do it as a cut extrusion, but how much am I going to cut? Okay. I don't have this dimension here. I do have the overall of 58 millimeters, and I do know that this is 11 and 11. Okay. You can probably do the math in your head, but Inventor actually does the math for you in that it would be 58 minus 11 minus 11. So it does math for you. That's actually pretty cool. From here, I'm going to now create another sketch on this surface. I'm going to flip it here on purpose. I want to make sure that I always read this where it says top across this way, mostly because of my horizontal and vertical constraints. So that way everything here is horizontally. And then I'm going to click over here where it usually says rectangle. I'm going to click over here. I'm going to look at these options, and I'm going to use a center to center slot. A slot is 2 arcs and 2 lines. I'm going to click here. And I'm going to start with a center point here to here. And then I drag out the width of the arc. I'm sorry, of the, well, I guess of the slot. I'm going to hit escape. 4 dimensions needed. What 4 dimensions would I need? Let's guess. Let's take an educated guess with me. The 4 dimensions I'm going to predict is going to be the 14 millimeters from the edge, 19 millimeters from center to center, the width of, well, that's not really the width. That's just 4 times the radius. So that really wouldn't be it. 1, 2, and then the 13, the width from here to here will be 3. So it'll be 1, 2, 3. Oh, you know what? I'm actually missing a geometric constraint because dimensional, as far as an actual number, the dimensions would actually be 14, 19, and the 13. That's really it. So I'm actually missing a geometric constraint. The geometric constraint, I'll tell you right now, see, that shouldn't happen. So the geometric constraint is going to be the horizontal constraint between this point and this center. That's the horizontal constraint with 3 dimensions needed. So I'm going to go ahead and dimension now. The line from here to here is 19 millimeters. And then the 14 is actually from the bottom edge. So we don't really see it. So here's a really good example of what we can where we can also use projected geometry. Because on this surface, I need to be able to reference that line. So I'm going to go project geometry, and I'm going to project that edge onto my sketch right over here. I need that because from that edge, which is again projected just from the bottom over here, I need that because that way I can dimension from this point to this line the 14 millimeters. One dimension needed is going to be the edge from here to here. The dimension I need there is 13 millimeters. Fully constrained finished sketch. Perfect. Now I have that, I'm going to go ahead and extrude that portion of it. As a cut extrusion, the distance is going to be through all. Hit OK. Very good. Now, the other one right over here. Once again, I'm going to use that center point. I'm telling you, that's going to be so key to this whole thing. That center point right in here, which once again, that's where the center of my planes are, because I'm going to use those to my advantage. Specifically this on the YZ plane, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror this guy on the YZ plane to mirror all this cut feature from one side to the other. Okay, so here I'm going to go click mirror, and the first thing I'm going to select is my features, and the features can be graphically picked through here. I can select this one, or I can actually just go and select extrusion 3, same thing, and then I'm going to click mirror plane. The mirror plane, if it's not expanded right in here, you can go over here to, in this case it's going to be the YZ plane. So it's going to take this one. It's almost like if you're placing a mirror and the reflection of the mirror is from one side to the other. Hit OK. Got it. That's why you want to make sure you place that center point in the center of the object, because you can use all this geometry to your advantage. The only other thing that's missing now is the radius. I'm sorry, the fillets with a radius of 3. So if I go over here to fillets, radius of 3 millimeters, select this edge and that edge, and OK. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you use Inventor, using a couple of other techniques.